So how do you keep content ticking over during the international break? By doing a Q&A, of course. Thanks to everyone who sent a question over for this video. I don't know why I just decided to do a Q&A. I just kind of felt in the mood for it. So there's a couple of, I think there's one or two silly ones in here, which I did say you could go for silly or serious questions as much as you like. It didn't necessarily have to be about Sunderland. It didn't have to be about football. It could be about anything, really. Maybe I might do an autism Q&A at some point to sort of just put the message out there a little bit about autism. I don't know. As you can tell, I'm rambling. So I don't know how this video is going to go, but we are going to roll with it. So very quickly to, and I hope I've got these names right, Joe and Jill Dodd. Apparently both of you watch my content, and I saw Jill yesterday when I was working. So very much appreciate that you came up to me. So there's a shout out for the two of you, and thanks ever so much for continuing to watch my content. Thanks to everyone who has sent me questions. So I asked on across my YouTube post and on Twitter, which is at MichaelBowers15, if you got any questions for me, and thankfully quite a number of people did deliver. So to make sure this video is not exceptionally and abhorrently long, let's get right into it. We're going to start on the YouTube community post. So here goes nothing, and I know for a fact I'm going to get names wrong in advance, so if I do, apologise and correct me respectfully in the comments if I have got it wrong. So here goes. Lion Cookie Jump 1971 says, worst signing of the summer and best signing of the summer. It's a fascinating one there. I'd say worst by default is Mark Gayu because he was only here for a couple of weeks and got sent back. But worst implies that there's been a bad signing. So at least that's how my brain interprets it. So I would say Gayu by default at the minute, but obviously that's as of right now. We need to see how a lot of these signings do across the season. But maybe I might revisit that in January or something and we'll see where we are from there. And as for best, it's got to be Xhaka for me. I think the Xhaka is... There's a lot of really good signings there that seem to have really impressed me. Like Simon Adingra, I think, is one that looks pretty good. Habib Diarra, I think, looks real talent when I've watched of him. Noah Siddiqui, I'm a fan of. I like the look of him a lot. Alderete, I think, looks good. But I think that it's got to be... I mean, Xhaka's the highest profile signing, but I think that even that was just a level of quality that I just did not expect Sunderland to be able to get at all. Not as a promoted club anyway. If we were established, I could see it maybe not being... as much of a shock to have got someone like Granit Xhaka, but as a promoted club, you know what? It's mental that we've been able to get hold of him. So that's why we out to answer that question. That's how I would answer it. Eric Perez 233 says, assuming a standard Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff at home, do you go for a meal pre or post match? What is your match day routine? Essentially, it is drag me bully one of my mates called Paul to go out into the pub before the match, watch the match. Then we meet up with another one of our mates, and then we often just go out into town and go wherever we can get in. Basically, there's nothing really fancy or exciting to it. Maybe if I'm in the mood, I might go for like a spoons, like a sort of spoons sort of meal, because Wetherspoons you can't beat it. I mean, it's obviously not the greatest of quality, but it does the job. It's quality enough to do the job, isn't it? Port of Call's really good for food, by the way. Maybe I might go there after a game at some point, or pre-game. But yeah, I would say that's pretty much my match day routine, mate. So I'm sorry if you're expecting something a bit grander than that. Right, here we go. Here's the first silly question. And I'm not going to lie, this did kind of make us laugh a little bit. So it's from Adam-SD2OW. So he says, if Alan Shearer and Sam Fender were on fire and you only had one bucket of water, who would you save? That's very dark, mate. If I had to pick, who would I save? Goodness me. I guess by default I'd probably pick Alan Shearer just because Sam Fender's inspired a bunch of Newcastle tops to be worn everywhere, and I'm sick of the sight of Newcastle tops as it is. No offence to anyone who is a Newcastle fan and who wears one, but yeah, the amount of bandwagoning since their takeover is something that's just less than impressed us. So I think, and to see more of it, it's like, nah, come on. So yeah, maybe not the best answer you were looking for, Adam, but that's kind of what I would say with it. CS Dude 35 says, favourite SCFC player manager ever and least favourite player manager ever. Oh, right now this one did get me thinking. Right, favourite SCFC player manager. If I had to say manager, I'd still say Sam Allardyce. Although I think Regis Labrise is getting up. If he keeps us up this season, then I think Regis Labrise will be up there surely. As of right now, I'm not going to include Regis because he's currently here. But out of ones that had been here before, I'd say Sam Allardyce, I think, was up there. I had a big soft spot for Tony Mowbray, even though I felt he wasn't going to be good enough to get us promoted. But I think Allardyce, under him, before he left to go to England, for a 100% win record on one game, before he left to go to England, I had hope with him that we were finally going to end this underachieving cycle of just settling for 17th every season in the Premier League, when I thought clubs that I considered to be quite a way smaller than us were achieving better than us, which for me shouldn't have been happening. And I felt under Allardyce there was a chance we would change that, but no, I like Allardyce a lot. Player, I think more for how he was with Bradley Lowery, even though he was a great, for the first stint here, Jermaine Defoe. I think I've got a lot of time for Jermaine Defoe. I think that the way he was about with Bradley Lowery was the thing that kind of, as a human being, really made me appreciate Jermaine Defoe. But, I mean, you've got to mention Luke O'Nien as one of them. I mean, look, is he technically the best player in the world? Absolutely not. But, my God, does Luke O'Nien care about the club? And does Luke O'Nien... He's 3 years away from being able to be eligible for a testimonial. So I would say Jermaine Defoe, but an honorary mention to Luke O'Nien. And Allardyce, my favourite manager. Least favourite player manager ever. I'll tell you what, the obvious answer for me, the weakest player I've seen play for us is Callum McFadzean. And people have their own opinions, but I still am stuck as to how anyone can say Denver Hume was worse than McFadzean, because for me, it was clear as day. Denver Hume was miles better than McFadzean, in my opinion. But McFadzean's the easiest one to pin blame on. I would say least favourite in terms of not giving effort. One of them, at least, was Adnan Januzaj under David Moyes, where I felt like he was someone who really frustrated the living daylights out of me, because he was someone who had all the quality in the world, but he just didn't have the heart and the effort to perform on a week-in, week-out basis. And least favourite manager, it's got to be David Moyes. I think for the way that the disdain with which he spoke about the club, the sort of the element of doing us a favour when it should really be the other way around for a club the size of Sunderland. But yeah, I didn't appreciate the way David Moyes' attitude. I thought it stank. But yeah, so probably generic answers, but I would say, so quickly to sum it up, I would say favourite SCFC player manager ever, I'd say Defoe for the first stint, best player, or favourite rather, Allardyce for favourite manager, and least favourite player, I'll go with Adnan Januzaj, there we go, I'll go a bit different, and David Moyes for least favourite. Ethan Fenwick, favourite meal deal, chicken and bacon Caesar wrap. I mean, come on, I like wraps more than sandwiches, actually, funnily enough. I mean, I like my food, as you can see by the size of us, really, but at the same time, I do like chicken and bacon Caesar wraps. I think it's absolutely delicious, wherever it is going to be. I'd probably say a nice little sort of Fridge Raiders southern chicken pack as the snack, and then probably a Pepsi Max as a drink, I think. You know, and obviously got to get a bit of protein in there, even though it's probably not the best example of it, but that would be probably my sort of favourite one. Adingra is Kinga. By the way, brilliant name. I absolutely love that. Best flavour pot noodle and why? It has been ages since I've had a pot noodle, mate, but if I had to pick one, is there a hot and spicy chicken one or a southern fried chicken one? I don't know. I am not a pot noodle expert by any means, so I'm going to bow to your superior knowledge on that one. John Earl 1394. Isn't it about time SCFC opened up the front rows of top tier for away fans? More revenue, bigger crowds, and things getting thrown only happen via Pompey and Coventry and don't play them anymore. I can get your argument for that, but I still think you're going to have a hard time convincing the club of that. I think they're going to look at it as if it happens enough times, if it happens more than once, it's enough. Not an excuse, but it's enough of a reason to sort of have segregation in the lower rows of the away end in the gods. So I don't know. I can see where you're coming from, mate, but I understand why the club's done what they've done. FC Career Mode Thane. Now, this I believe is replacing Thane's SCFC channel. So yeah, thanks very much, Thane. And it's nice to see Thane's recent comments and not be negative. But I think even to be fair to him, he said when things are positive, you just can't be negative, really, can you? That should be obvious, but you know what I mean. Anyway, he says, now that the window is shut, who's done the best business in the Premier League and who do you think's done the worst? Ooh. I'm trying to look at it as a non-Sunderland thing. If I had to say who's done the best business in the Premier League, if they'd signed Gahey, I would have said Liverpool. I think the signing of Wirtz, Isak, and potentially with Gahey joining in, is it Frimpong I think they've signed from Leverkusen, was it Bournemouth they signed him from, or Leverkusen? I can't remember which one it is. But I tell you what, I would say Liverpool. I think Liverpool have attacked the window from a position of strength as a team who's just won the Premier League, and I think that they have a clear ambition and desire to retain the title, and I'm very impressed with them for that. But I think a good shout. I think Everton's not had a bad window. I think Grealish is a really good signing. I like Dewsbury Hall as a signing. Yeah, I'm really impressed with what I've seen from Everton. And obviously, in best business in the Premier, I think Sunderland's got to be up there as one of the. And I think a lot of people would say Sunderland, or as Conor McGilligan goes, Sunderland. I think we have done one of the best business in the Premier League. At least on paper, we have. Time will tell how good the business is this season, but I think we've got to be in the conversation for that. And who do I think's done the worst? It's a hard question, that. I suppose by default you could say Fulham, because I think it took them till the very end of the window to sign a player. For me, I think Brentford's probably had... In terms of the worst bit of business, I don't think Brentford's done bad in a business sense in terms of selling Mbeumo and Wissa for the fees they have, considering both of them were in the last year of their contracts. But I think if I'm right, they scored 66 goals in the Prem last season, and they've lost 39 of those goals. Now, Atara, who had the offside goal against us for Brentford, the one that was disallowed, I think he looks quite promising, actually, but it's a lot to expect him to replace two goal scorers. So I would say Brentford in that business, and probably from a sense of losing Thomas Frank and Keith Andrews coming in. I don't know. We'll have to see how that pans out. Next one is right. Which Premier League team are you most excited to host at the Stadium of Light? And then D Hall. So that was from. Oh, why is his name unpronounceable? I'm just going to call you Reese, mate, because I don't know if I've done it right. And then D Hall says, other than the Mags. Oh, favourite team I'm looking forward to hosting. Oh, that's a funny one, that. See, it's an interesting one. I think if I had to pick one, I'm trying to think who am I most looking forward to hosting. Maybe Liverpool, to some degree, because I want to see how we get on against the champions. But, I mean, the obvious one, if you're including the Mags, it's obviously Newcastle, isn't it? That's the game where everything is all about. And the last one on YouTube before I go to Twitter, D Hall says, how many words a minute can you speak? Maybe you go through any of my videos, go and try and go through one after a match review when I speak really, really fast and see if you can count through it. I speak very quickly though, mate, so good luck to you for that. That's all I'll say. Right, let's get on to Twitter questions. So here we go. Luke Moore. Who is your favourite signing this summer, apart from Xhaka? Tell us your favourite player in the Sunderland player in the squad this season. Right, so apart from Xhaka, Habib Diarra. I think Habib Diarra, I don't like players being judged too quickly one way or another, so I'm not going to judge him yet. From what I have seen, though, I think Habib Diarra definitely looks a Premier League player and looks what if this is anything to go by. I think Habib Diarra looks really, really encouraging. Let's have a look. Tommy at Doggo Vision says, do you think our transfer exquisite dealings eat into that 24-point gap between us, Burnley and Leeds? I'm really struggling to see how we overcome it, and I'm already preparing myself for life in the Championship come May. I did like this question because not from every Leeds and Burnley fan, but there was a number of them saying Sunderland finished 24 points ahead of us. They have got absolutely no chance, overlooking the context of us sacking off the last 6 games and the fact the next season doesn't really matter when it comes to any of that. But yes, I would like to think it does, mate. But, well, at the minute, we're probably, 21 points adrift of Burnley and 22 points adrift of Leeds. So, still some way to go, but I think we'll get there. That's the hope. Jack Asbury, good mate of mine. Thanks very much for asking this. Do you think missing out on Lusimi could come back to bite us? Well, hopefully not. But with Head... Is it Hertruder? I think it's how you say it, with Gertruder. Who was signed from Leipzig. I mean, apparently he can play right back and centre-half. If Mikel's performance against Brentford's anything to go by, no. But again, that's one game. We'll have to wait and see. So hopefully not. Whether it will, time will tell over the season. One from Jack says, could 4-4-2 be utilised in the Prem like RLB did in the Championship at times last season? I get the point you're making, but personally for me, I don't think so, because I think a lot of Sunderland's games that we're going to get results in are going to be because the midfield is dragging us through games. Like, if you look at that midfield, and I've seen a lot of non-Sunderland fans say this, the midfield of Xhaka, Diarra and Siddiqui should look to be one that's a top quality Premier League midfield. I'm not talking like elite level, like top 6, top 7, but one that's definitely better than bottom 3. So I think personally that dynamic is going to be crucial for us if we're going to have a chance of staying up. It maybe could be if we're playing Burnley at home, possibly. But in general, I don't think so personally. But RLB likes to prove people wrong, so hopefully in a good way he makes me look like a mug for saying that. Douglas Horn, very good mate of mine. It was good to finally meet him when Sunderland played Hearts, actually. With the transfer window finishing, who is winning the league and your 3 to go down? So my prediction, and to be honest, it hasn't changed from what I said at the start of the season. No, I didn't do Premier League predictions on the channel at the start of the season, but if I had to say, I'd say Liverpool to win the league. I think Isak, apart from him screwing over the Mags fans, is actually quite funny, but he has disgraced himself, let's be honest. But when it comes to going to Liverpool, I think Isak's a different level. I think Wirtz is really good. I think Ekitike, who I forgot to mention earlier, for signing Liverpool, who had the best window from Thane's question. I think Ekitike started quite well. I think the only thing that concerns me about Liverpool, really, is the centre-back issue. And I think if they signed Gahey, I think they would have been a pretty much 10 out of 10 window for Liverpool. But I would still say Liverpool will have enough to win the league. Already they've beaten Arsenal at Anfield, and I think they're going to win enough of those tight games, or at least not lose any of them, or not lose many of them. And I just think Liverpool will be winning the league again. And obviously, for Doug's case, hopefully they do. And as for my 3 to go down, I've said that I think Burnley and Leeds, both because of their head coaches. I think that Parker, to be fair to Burnley, I do think that Parker is better than Company will be for them, because the way he sets up will give them a much better chance, in my opinion, a much better chance of surviving, even though I don't think they'll quite have enough quality in the end. But I think they'll give themselves a better shot than last time. But their defensive record, they might have a chance, mightn't they? The thing for them is if they're still in touch, because they've got a tough run of games coming up, I believe, haven't they? But you never know. They nearly got something at Man United. I know Man United is not the toughest game anymore as it used to be, but they still nearly got something at Man United. So I'd say Burnley. I think Leeds. I think if you go and watch Conor McGilligan, I think I really respect his content. And he was saying that he tipped Leeds to go down because he's worried about the lack of action at the forward end. I do want to stress, though, if Leeds do sack Daniel Farke and bring somebody else in, that can change things, I think. I think Leeds will get a fair few results at Ellen Road, but I'm not sure whether they're going to score enough goals, because I think Leeds have got 1 goal, and it wasn't even from open play yet. But to be fair to Leeds, I will say this, and caveat in defence of them, they did have by far for me the hardest start of the promoted clubs, when they had Everton, Arsenal and Newcastle. So they've actually done quite well, I think, to get 4 points. So we'll wait and see how they do in the winnable games, because every game in the Prem's difficult. And the last one for me, and I've still stuck by it, I think is Brentford. I think Brentford are... I know Brentford have been very ran extremely savvy, but for me, I think Brentford is... they scored 66 goals last season, and they took 39 goals out of that team, when I believe, got 20 and Whistler got 19. Now, they've took about 2/3 of the goals they've scored out of that, so I think it's going to be quite fascinating and telling how they deal with it. Henderson I like. I think Atara looks really, really good, from what I've seen so far, but Keith Andrews, not totally convinced, if I'm honest. So time will tell on that one. I could be very much wrong on that, but I think it'll be Burnley, Leeds and Brentford. Next up is from Angie Smith, who's a great lass. She watches my channel all the time. Can we all agree to wear Mr. Blobby suits over Christmas? Half our team will be at AFCON, so need a giggle. Well, Angie, I'll tell you what, not just for the fact we might need a giggle, but if we put enough Mr. Blobbies on the pitch, the opposition might get so confused and so distracted that they'll take their eye off the ball and we'll win every game 1-0. How's that sound? Right, the last question is from Sophie. Sophie Bellwood, who is of the What the Fault podcast. Brilliant guest. Well, not guest anymore, since she's a regular. Brilliant contributor to the pod and great pod overall. I'd really recommend you check it out. She asks, out of all the incomings, who feels like a proper Sunderland type player to you? That's a very good question. And who's the most underrated signing we made this summer? Right, who feels... So there's kind of 2 questions there. So who feels like a proper Sunderland type player to me? Ooh. Depends what you associate with a stereotypical Sunderland signing. If you're talking about... Right, okay, the best way I can say... I actually probably say Granit Xhaka, but not for the reasons you might think. Granit Xhaka, for me, is kind of like that tough engine in the middle of the park. Obviously, he's got quality, and I know he's got a lot better quality than the player I'm about to mention here. But in the way that I think of Lee Cattermole, for example, when I'm thinking of Sunderland back in the past, where it was a tough tackling, hard grafter of a midfielder, given 100%, I think Xhaka obviously has got much more quality going forward than Lee Cattermole has. But I do think Xhaka reminds me of that in some senses. I suppose you could say another one, and another candidate for this, and probably is the same answer I would say for underrated signing, is Robin Roofs, because we've been relying on goalkeepers quite a lot in the Premier League, and I think Robin Roofs will probably prove to be that this season. You already saw against Brentford how crucial he was to obviously saving the penalty and ending up just calming things down and getting us over the line for the 3 points. So underrated signing, though, I would say Roofs, because I think that although I like Anthony Patterson, I think if we're being real and we're being blunt, I think he wasn't going to be good enough to step up to the Prem, unfortunately. And I just think we had to upgrade the goalkeeper, didn't we? But there you have it. So I believe that is all the questions that I got sent across YouTube and Twitter. So thanks ever so much to everyone who did send me that. And I will say, providing, and I want to put this out there, providing that nothing changes last minute, there is a chance James Copley's coming back on the channel. If it doesn't happen, then I'll do a live stream on my own anyway. But if it does happen, let's just say keep your eyes peeled over the weekend. But anyway, guys, you know the drill. If you're watching this, if you're watching the channel and you think I've earned a sub from you and you're not subbed already, hit the sub button if you've got an account. Absolutely free, as Sean Middleton says. Doesn't cost a penny. Much appreciated. Respectfully comment below what you think. And maybe send some questions in the comments below for another Q&A if you want me to do a regular one of these. Whether it's autism, whether it's Sunderland, whether it's football, or just general life stuff. Whatever you want to go with. And we can maybe try and broaden things out away from Sunderland a little bit. But yeah, take care everyone, you lovely lot. Enjoy the international break as much as you can. Just look at the Prem table and we're 6th for the minute. Just ignore how long this season has got to go yet. Just enjoy it. And anyway, take care, stay safe, and how are the lads?